Hi, my name is Namulanta Kombo from the Dear Daughter podcast with the BBC World Service. I'm collecting letters of advice for my daughter Coco and for daughters everywhere. You can find us and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. This season, I'm talking to parents who are stars in their fields, actors, sports stars, scientists, about what advice they'd give to their daughters. Today, I'm talking to the amazing Adjoa Andoh. She's an actor, a director, a mum of 3, and her career has spanned both stage and screen. But most recently, of course, we all know her as Lady Danbury on the Netflix series Bridgerton. Welcome, Adjoa. Hi.
Thanks very much, Namulanta.
Thank you for squeezing me into your schedule. I know it's been busy, incredibly busy, because you are now filming
We're
the
filming
newest
at the moment.
series of Bridgerton.
Mm-hmm.
How's it going? I know you can't tell me what's going on, but how is it going?
Somebody from Netflix has come round and take me out. You know, we launched season 3 last summer, and I was in Joburg, I was in Warsaw, I was in New York, I was in London, and everywhere we went with the show, there's a lot of love for it intrinsically of itself, but also it's become a sort of safe space for people who may find that their communities aren't as welcoming of them, particularly the LGBTQ plus community. But also, I'm in Ghana doing the shopping for my dad, and somebody will run across the road and sort of talk about stuff and from the show, or they'll notice I'm wearing a jinyame as part of my jewellery or whatever it is. And it's a thing to hold on to when it's 4 a.m. and I'm being picked up to be stuck in a wig for 15 hours or something.
You know, for me watching it, it's been very magical in the sense where I get to see texture in hair and I get to see amazing colors against skin that looks like mine.
Mm-hmm.
But it also has been very familiar. Like, we've been here. This is who people like me were for a long time and continue to be. It's more than a show for many people.
Well, I'm glad you say that, because for me, the really important thing has been to refute the idea when people go, it's colourblind casting, which is a horrid phrase in itself, because I would always say, oh, you mean the Bridgertons are really African? Is that what you mean? But no, you don't mean that. You mean that the people of colour are playing white people. And we're not. We're playing exactly what you see is who we are. You know, Bridgerton's not a documentary. So, you would never see a woman of that period wearing the Featherington psychedelic oranges or whatever. And you may not see people of colour in that number in Regency Britain, but we were absolutely here. And so for me, even if it provokes the conversation that goes, that's not true, history wasn't like that, and you go, well, maybe do a little research and you'll see Britain went unto the world and the world came unto Britain. I love the show from that point of view, and I like being able to see a whole range of people in period world where it's not all about slavery or misery.
And what do you do with Lady Danbury when you're not filming? Do you sort of sit her down in a room somewhere and say, I'll be back? Or is she with you?
I think you find with many actors that, you're given a character on the page and then what gives them blood is your blood. So Lady Danbury's hats, for example, I'm very keen on her tailoring because I think we say things with the way we dress. And if you're a person of colour in this Regency world, you make a statement by the way that you appear, just as, I might if I was going to a meeting as opposed to if I'm, putting the bins out. Yeah. Both my grandmothers, my English grandmother and my Ghanaian grandmother and my mother, all loved hats. I've got all these fabulous photographs of them, different stages of their lives in amazing hats. So I wanted to celebrate, women who life might be tricky, but they find a way of navigating it and do it while looking fabulous, regardless. Yeah. And even if they've stitched all the fabulousness overnight from curtains, whatever. Yeah. So I wanted to celebrate those women and female friendships. So Lady Danbury never gets quite put down, but she might get smushed together when she's reanimated.
And you've written an amazing letter to your daughters that has wonder and talking about how wonderful they are. So I think now would be a good time for you to read it, and then we can chat a bit more about it after.
Okay, specs on. I have to say, it's also written to my son because, you have to be equal with your kids.
Written to your 3 children.
To my kids, yeah. My dear daughters, So this is the headline, my cherubs, flesh of my flesh. You contain the universe. Everything you need is in you. One of my favourite things about being pregnant with you was that I knew that my body knew everything I needed to keep you growing well, healthy and contented. And as you know, I worked right through all my pregnancies. No choice. Eat fish, my body said. But I've been a vegetarian since I was 16, my mind countered. Don't care, my body insisted. You're not in charge. Fabulous, I gleefully surrendered. Lead on. It was a liberating moment of realising my body is in an ancient lineage, and I, the conscious part of me, all shiny in 20th century me at that time, was actually part of that ancient animal consciousness too. What confidence that revelation gave me. When we're alert to it, my babies, we are guided by millennia of ancient wisdom and experience accumulated in this universe-filled databank we call our bodies. The Museum of America tells us every atom of oxygen in our lungs, of carbon in our muscles, of calcium in our bones, of iron in our blood, was created inside a star before Earth was born. In Song of Myself 31, the great 19th century poet Walt Whitman tells us, I believe a leaf of grass is no less than the journey work of the stars. Journey work. At one level, the most unremarkable evolution from a star to a leaf. The journey work of a journeyman, a worker who is reliable but not outstanding. The piece of work, the leaf. Everyday, ordinary. And yet, that everyday leaf is the work of its unimaginable million years long travel, from star to leaf. What a journey, what a work. As with the leaf, so too with you, my beloved daughters. How miraculous that you lovely Pekin and everything else on this planet, everything, is composed of stardust. Joni Mitchell, in her song Woodstock sings, we are stardust, we are golden, and we've got to get ourselves back to the garden. The garden of creation. Back to ourselves as we were created. Evolved with instincts for self-preservation, for self-sustaining, for generosity, for communion, for great joy, great ferocity, great wonder. I know life keeps coming at you thick and fast, kids. But listen for that unique, ancient voice that warns and encourages. Seek it out. Beyond all life's damage and societal norms, seek that sweet inner note of stardust, calling you to pay attention, follow its protection, and trust your instincts. I love you, Mummy.
I think that's amazing. It's very poetic. It was a bit like a sermon.
I do sermons.
Yeah. Do you write letters as well?
I don't really write paper letters that much anymore, which is really sad, isn't it? The object is so beautiful to have an object that you can keep returning to. Yeah. But I do write letters to my kids in email form, and if you look at our WhatsApps, it's a constant stream of, constant conversation and affirmation and, just soothing them or comforting them. And we send voice notes a lot now as well.
Yeah, it is 2025.
Yeah.
But I also have, my mom bought me a calligraphy pen. I must have been about 15. And I've just gotten back to not calligraphy, but just to writing by hand. And it's so much easier, I feel, for me to communicate. It's like my brain and my heart and my hand are just fluid. And I'm able to express myself a lot better in that way.
Well, that's the calcium and the iron and all the bits of us that are the star.
Yeah. When I read your letter the first time, I had to go back and, a couple of times and make sure I understood what you were saying. And what I understood is that we have it all in us already. Yeah. That's it.
It really is.
Yeah.
That's it. I think a lot of us spend our lives sort of living from the chin up. It's like this stuff from your foot to your neck is just there to carry our head around. Where actually every bit of us is full of the experience of our life and is full of the experiences of the lives that have gone before us. We're evolving like a tree or a banana or a tiger. To get back into the rest of the whole of who we are, the whole of our bodies, and listen to our bodies, because bodies are really chatty if you pay attention to them. When you have that instinct and you're like, oh, no, don't like it, pay attention. Your body's evolved for you to feel a bit wary of things that may be harmful. Yeah. Is that heat too hot? Does that thing taste slightly, what's that smell? I really love that about being pregnant, of just going, I'll just switch my head off now. My body will tell me what to do, and paying attention to it.
Yeah. What was it like having that fish after all this is when you're pregnant?
In my head, it was like, I'm eating flesh. Yeah. But my body was like, yum, thanks. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Have another toenail, baby.
or rocks. Back in Kenya, like people really eat rocks a lot when pregnant. Like there's a craving for I don't know what it is.
Do you know what? When I was pregnant with Daisy, the last one, I would seek out building sites in the middle of London. It was the smell of the stone. I just had to be in that. I was like, there's a particular smell. I was working, but I was also taking a French conversation class at City Lit, which is on Fleet Street. And there was loads of building work going on, lots of old buildings on that street. So I was always this heavily pregnant black woman sidling into building sites, health and safety gone mad. But I was craving that smell. So I wonder if it's something to do with that.
You weren't trying to lick anything that you could find on the site.
I might have done. Yeah.
But the letter is things that you integrally know, but it was a bit of an eye-opener to read it and think, yeah, it made me feel, well, the word that came to mind was limitless.
We're universal, literally. Yeah,
it's about tapping into that. So is this something that you had to develop in life, or was it an approach you were raised with?
I'm trying to get back all the time to Joni's garden, back to the Garden of Creation. I'm trying to get back to that sense you have, when your kids are little and they know they are the centre of attention and they feel capable of everything and they want to go everywhere and touch everything and, they're fully engaged and nobody's told them, no, you're a girl, so you better go over there. Or you're of colour, you should be over there. Or you're of that lower caste, you're not supposed to do that. Or you're from that faith, so you're not supposed to. Nobody's laid that on. And I think trying to get back to that sense of who is the entirety of who you are and feel it as in your unique soul, that unique gifting you have. There is nobody in the whole world like you. Nobody. And try and hold on to that sense of who you are and how extraordinary that is and how wonderful that is. In a world that's constantly trying to boundary us, it doesn't work with what the man-made rules have said you are supposed to do or you are supposed to love or, all those sorts of things. I think a lot at the moment, thinking about daughters, I think a lot about girls in Afghanistan. I think a lot about legally not being able to sing or to raise your voice above the level we're speaking at now. And it makes me want to weep because they weren't created to be that tiny in the world. I don't want anybody to feel that tiny in the world, male or female. And so I think I've tried to develop it as a way of thinking for myself to cope with those times when you are obliged to be limited and to find ways around it and to actually set my compass in the direction of places that let me be limitless.
What type of moments are those when you're obliged to be? Have you had those?
Well, I think we all have. It might be you're the only woman in the room and you make a suggestion and nobody pays attention, and then 10 minutes later some man makes a suggestion and then it's, that's really interesting. All those moments where you wonder if you didn't get a job, or you did get a job because of your funny name or your race, or, I'm dyspraxic, so I have to be very mindful of how I use stuff, props, or being with friends who are wheelchair users and thinking, well, we can't go there because we can't get through the door, or we can't get down the stairs, or, all the social boundaries that say, women aren't allowed in that space, or the boundaries of wealth and poverty, the accident of your birth. That's the thing for me. The accident of your birth should be no limit to what you can be in the world.
What has it been like for you as a parent, trying to help your children navigate between all the good things and all the confidence that you should have and the audacity and that type of thing, to actually going out there and being able to do it in the outside world without you by their side?
Well, at one level, I would say the job is raise them up and ship them out. That's literally our job as a species. Raise them up, ship them out. That's the species continuing. At another level, nobody tells you when you got the tiny baby. That is your tiny baby until you die. You're never off the clock for the rest of your life. My 38-year-old will ring me and we'll be having long conversations about stuff, and she'll need stuff. And so will my 27-year-old, and so will my 28-year-old. So you're never off the clock. My youngest daughter has sometimes she'll say to me, Mum, I don't need you to fix it. I just need you to listen. And I think that's been quite a good lesson for me, because I'm like, oh, okay, now we'll fight. It's like, no, Mum, I can do it. I just need you to say, okay, and listen to me while I tell you how it's hard, or, what the challenges are. So I think learning what are the useful skills to bring. And I think listening is a huge one as they're out in the world, because, you can't stop them from being heartbroken or not getting that job, or, whatever else it may be. And sometimes you just need to be that place that is home for them, wherever they are.
My mom's very good at being that sort of safe space, being home. And I'll call her, I'm 42, and I'll call her about everything and nothing.
Yeah.
And I think she's also had to go from manager to consultant.
Yes.
Where all we want is for you to sort of listen and be like, yeah, that was dumb, or or that was great, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But are your kids taking your advice?
Yeah, I think they do take my advice, actually. I ask them for advice as well. We celebrate and commiserate in equal measure with each other now, because they know stuff I don't know. But I feel like that with my grandson as well, who's 4. There's stuff I can learn from him as well.
Yeah.
So who wants to be the fount of all knowledge? I think the older I get, the more I know I don't know, and the more I need to pay attention and stay curious, still be that small kid, be curious. It keeps life interesting as well. And I think there's something about my kids and seeing how their lives go that it keeps me hopeful, hearing those other views on the world and just thinking, well, yeah, it's okay.
You just talked about, sort of pressures from the outside world, and it's not just for our kids, it's for us as well.
Sure.
What advice do you have about some of these pressures? I know your letter is beautiful and it's about being limitless, but there is a lot going on, a lot of things that I don't understand at my age. What advice do you have about being limitless in spaces that you're still learning what the limits are and what the boundaries are, and it's so ever evolving?
Yeah, I think you have to listen. You have to listen hard and pay attention. Quite often I like to get lots of information and then just sit with it, like literally sit with it, and to let it percolate down, as if you were marinating fish or something. You put all the ingredients in and then you let it alchemically become what it's going to become. I find it really exciting. It's almost like, oh, wow, what can I do now?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Let's have a listen in and see. Because the other thing it does is it slows you down. And I think we live in a world where everything has to be fast the whole time. There's no space to breathe. Our brains are constantly flicking on devices and all of that. And, I'm juggling the kids. I'm juggling elderly parents. I'm just doing my career. What about my relationship? Blah, 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 and you've got to read that script, do that thing. everything gets really fast. And I think sometimes you just need to go and breathe. Just stop and get to the thing in front of you, and don't worry about the thing 4 steps hence, because you're not paying attention now. Pay attention now is the best way to get you back in your body. Your body is living now. You know, if I pinch you, you'll feel it now. We're always in the moment. And so to bring your attention back to the moment, I think is a really good way of sort of steadying the ship.
And as you do that, because I was going to ask you, what practical advice do you have to people who are listening, and daughters who are listening in particular, how to sort of recenter when you are feeling a bit lost, and how to tap into that stardust?
Nature.
Yeah.
Go into nature. And I mean, you may be in a very urban area and it's like, not seeing a lot of nature around here. Find a flower, watch a bird, because we vibrate with that same energy at some level. I know I sound like I'm a hippie. I am a hippie. I don't care. I think it's good. We vibrate with nature. We are nature. We're nature. We're stardust. We are the leaf, the wondrous leaf that Walt Whitman talks about. And I really think sometimes just literally connect with nature and feel your blood pressure go down, and make it a practice that you do it. You know, I'm feeling freaked out. Okay, just stop. Okay, I'm gonna concentrate on that flower, on the stamen, on the stem, on the veins of the leaf, of the petal shape. Just take your attention into something that's real and growing. And if you can acknowledge the growth that nature keeps doing, you're in that cycle as well. And this situation you might be in at the moment might feel like a bare twig. But at some point, there will be leaves on that twig, and it's holding on to that hope and that forward motion, because I think when we get overwhelmed and overloaded, we get robbed of that sense of the possibility of hope and forward motion. And we're built for hope.
Yeah, I feel like you have been reimagining the world through your work.
Yeah,
from the time you began. And I wonder, what do you imagine for the future in terms of, well, sort of just for your girls and your son?
I think the thing I want most for my children, and now my grandson as well, and for the, my godchildren and the children of my friends, is to find out what their purpose is in life. I think when you find what you're built for, what's your unique gifting, if you can find a way to make that the thing that puts food on your table, you will have a happy life. You will be where you're meant to be. And not all of us are fortunate enough to be able to do that. Most people, I would say the majority of people, probably are doing the work that earns them the money, but may not be the work of their heart. But I think the earlier you can get to a place of discovering what the work of your heart might be, and any way that you get to chase it down, maybe you can only do it when you join your choir in the evening, or you do your basket weaving on a Saturday, or whatever it may be. Find the work of your heart and lean into that, because like looking at the flower, it takes you back into your nature, your unique individual nature. And wow.
It's not the ringtone I expected you to have.
Isn't it? It's the ringtone. I don't know why this is still on. That was my son phoning me. Yes. So when you find out what your unique gifting is, when you find out what's the thing that makes your heart sing or makes you lose track of time, it's the thing that you go, oh, I can do this. I'm quite good at this. It can transform your life. If you find things that sing to you, they will make you sing. I'm a firm believer in that. And it might be that you find you're a brilliant scaffolder. It's not the arts necessarily. It might be that you look at a machine and you can just see, the shapes that need investigating, or an equation, or whatever it may be. It doesn't matter what it is, but find the thing that is the work of your heart. And that's the thing I long for all the kids in my life, because that's the greatest trick. Find what you love and get someone to pay you to do it. Woohoo!
When did you realize the planets had aligned for you in that way?
I was very good at always knowing what I loved. I was under 4 and I would be sewing bits of paper to make a book. I'd be making books and I would read and I would do dressing up and I would draw house plans and I'd have people moving from room to room and I would do plays with the neighbours' kids. I would choreograph pieces of classical music and, because I didn't know you couldn't. So I did all of that stuff. I was in school plays at primary school. I was in school plays at secondary school. We weren't allowed to do drama because it wasn't considered a proper subject. So it wasn't until I got into the 6th form that we studied drama. And I remember going to the theatre. I was a depressed, anorexic teenager. And I remember sitting in the theatre for a school project. I'd gone on my own to see a play. It was called Plenty. It was by David Hare. And it was about a young woman during the war, middle-class white woman from London who gets sent into France to do special ops. And she's a secretary, but she speaks French, so they send her. And she finds that she is brilliant at just planning and organising people. And she's quick thinking and she's living in her power, as it were. Of course, she falls in love. There's all that stuff going on. Then the war ends and she comes back to England and it's rations and she has to go back to being a secretary. And it's heartbreaking for her. And I just remember sitting on my own in the dark, watching that play and weeping. She had nothing to do with my life, but I understood that something magical happened in that storytelling, that there was a communication from the writer's pen to the actor's portrayal to the story itself and my unique engagement with it. And I knew there was something magical and transformative in that experience for me that made me go, what's my thing? I want to, whatever that magic is that just happened, I want a part of that. And I grew up somewhere where nobody was an actor. You might as well have said you were going to ride a dolphin to the moon. But it opened a little chink of something for me. And it didn't coalesce into anything properly for about another 5 years. In between, I did the Good African Daughter thing. I went and did the law degree, which I hated and didn't complete. But I eventually came back to acting. And I've been doing it for 41 years.
Doing it well. I first watched Bridgerton, I think, in early 2021. And we had been on lockdown. I just had a baby.
Oh, my goodness.
And it was magical, but it was familiar. And I was fascinated. So for me to be sitting here with you, about 4 years later, and chatting to you about my daughter Coco and about your kids, I'm just really grateful that you agreed to do this.
No, absolute pleasure. Isn't that wonderful how the world can turn like that sometimes?
Yeah, it's really not linear. This has been an amazing journey for me. It's not where I imagined myself, but I'm now reimagining. And it's been great and it's been fun.
Oh, well, all power to you and your babies.
Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast.
Absolute pleasure.
Yeah.